Ring, 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 ring.
Banana phone.
Banana phone. Ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo.
Hello and welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 772 already. It's only May 7, 2024 as we record this on a Tuesday of all days. Just scheduling conflicts. It's all my fault, but we're doing it live and we're even less prepared than usual because we've only had 6 days. I'm Sebastian Peak.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
Is it okay to say that I don't have IBS? I'm Josh Walrath.
I don't have dads either. I'm Brett Van Sprumber.
And I wasn't prepared for a day early podcast, but you know what? Let's do this. I'm Kent Burgess.
Patreon.com/PCPer. D. Wally moving up the leaderboard over there.
Yes, it's another Wally. I don't know if you remember, we had a Wally a week or so ago. Different Wally, but moving up the leaderboard, throwing in a little bit more, trying to keep the wheels on the bus spinning around. So thank you very much, D. Wally. Appreciate it. You're going to help Josh buy whatever it is that he buys.
Oh, speaking of Josh.
Yeah.
It's the
Is this where I get to sing? Dun, dun, dun. Another one rides the bus.
You do.
And another one's on. And another one's on. Another one rides the bus. Hey, I want to sit by you.
Another one rides the bus.
Dr. Demento.
Yep.
He was the man for a long time, till he wasn't. But that happens to all of us. As I wax, not melodically. But there wasn't a burger so far this week. Why? Because today's Tuesday. Burgers are Wednesday. Burgers are solely reserved for Wednesdays. But yesterday I had a rather disappointing experience. I usually, get a little JJ's, Jimmy John's. They make a pretty good sandwich that I like. Their JJ BLT with double bacon, mayo, and sweet peppers. I suggest you try that combination. It's great. But instead, I thought, you know what? What is all this spicy McCrispy that I keep hearing about? It's supposed to be finely breaded chicken breast with a spicy sauce and
Sure looks
pickles.
it. Well, the pickles are definitely right.
And apparently, they put enough spicy sauce on for ants. There was very little spicy sauce across my spicy McCrispy. I mean, yeah, it was a little McCrispy. I mean, it was not, super crispy at all.
So they needed to pump it a
As you can
little
tell
bit more.
from the texture, it was a little soggy.
McChewy? Spicy McChewy?
But it's still like a $9 combo plus.
Yeep.
And this is what you get in this economy. Yeah, they gave me 4 pickles instead of 3. Very generous. But they did not slather on the McSpicy sauce. I was disappointed. The fries were okay. Not great, but they were okay. But yeah, that was not at all a spicy sandwich. In the least. But I mean, if you want to go out there and brag, it's like, yeah, I can handle them spicy McCrispy. Well, you can. I'm sure someone out there will be impressed. But yeah.
Are there no Popeyes near you?
No, it's 80 miles away.
It all sounds fairly meh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got boarding bars, so you know what? You can only complain so much.
Yeah.
It's a good place. Their wings are spicy. Their burgers are good. I just don't have a Popeyes.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
That's okay. Nor do I.
There's Food with Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
Signing off. May 7th, 2024.
And that's our show.
Thank you for watching, and we'll be back next week on a random day of the week again with even less content than this.
The after show will continue.
Right.
We're going to dive
Yeah,
right
the
into
after
this.
show continues. Actually, we're just going to be in after show mode for the rest of the podcast. Let's move to news and Intel in the news again. This is via Igor's lab, and we're not going to talk about this for 20 minutes, but that whole Intel Power Gate, let's just call it Power Gate. Intel plays with the name and data. The Intel baseline profile becomes Intel default settings, writes Igor at Igor's lab. So goes into the issue with the fact that they're essentially overclocked to make the processors faster. And here is a table. This is very interesting about the new baseline default versus performance and extreme profiles. And look at PL1 and PL2, or listen to me read PL1 and PL2 for the Core i9 14900K. The new baseline profile has a 125 watt PL1 and a 188 watt PL2. Now remember before that was 253 watts for the PL2 and PL1 and unlimited time. And, 4,096 watts was the motherboard default for almost everybody. 512 amps or something insane. So now that is going to be limited to 249 amps for ICC Max. And there's a PL4 of 293 watts. I have no idea how long the duration of PL4 is. And what about PL3? Lost in the mix. Any thoughts on this 188 watt PL2?
I think benchmarks are going to plummet.
Yeah. That's like Core i5 territory now for the Core i9. I wonder if that was the safe limit.
We've seen this before, but they didn't have the mechanisms, the tools to get it back down to where things would actually work. And that is, again, the infamous Pentium 3 1133. That they pushed the architecture so far that under certain circumstances it just broke. And in this case, they pushed it so far to compete with AMD, which does have, in this case, looks like a superior architecture for performance and getting the clock speeds up there. And but they're also on 5 nanometer? And they're on 10 plus. So they're pushing hard. 1133. 24 years ago.
And we still hold a grudge.
Yeah. Well, I got a long memory. My short-term memory sucks, but my long-term still intact. But no, I mean, they have all these tools and all of these mechanisms in there, and they've got, 32 megs of space in the BIOS and controllers and stuff like that they can allocate power into areas that need it. And, they've taken what was once overclocking and done that as stock, but it's just to the ragged edge. And I think they have finally gone over that edge. And we see these corner cases where stuff just crashes when you leave it at stock because they're so worried about the benchmarks, so worried about competing, worried about market share because obviously if we look at their last couple of quarters or last year, it hasn't been great for them as compared to historically speaking when they were hitting 20 billion a quarter. And now they're back down to 11 to 13 billion. And that's a huge change for a company the size of Intel, who was, used to 60 to 65% margins. And now they're down a little below AMD. And that's honestly unheard of. And I mean, it all, we can go back and talk about it, but, essentially they lost their head with their process technology going into directions that just didn't work. And instead of, kind of starting from scratch or licensing out something, they just kind of tried to fix what they had. And, 10 nanometer was kind of a disaster. And we're still on that. Now it's called Intel 7. And I think Intel 5 is going to be better. But yeah, they've been trying to keep up the benchmark war with AMD, and they just have finally pushed it too far.
Yes. That's the background on the story, if you haven't been following it. The drop from 253 to 188 to me is insane. Unless PL4 is just going to be the standard everywhere of 293. I guess it depends on the integrator. How
about the drop from
that.
4096 down to...
Well, yeah, having a limit at all.
Well,
all they really had to do was limit it to 253 from the outset. And it would have been probably just a very, very limited number of people with stability problems. But going unlimited power and everything running 320 all the time, just asking for trouble.
Well, they've got a lot of people
only
out there
problem
who've
is-
already partially burned down their chips on 4096, so they had to back it off below 493 in order to get those folks safely inside their reduced envelope again, right? That's what I'm thinking.
I'm just upset that they changed their naming conventions because we could have made jokes about a bridge too far.
Nah.
Yes. Well, I can't wait to start benchmarking 188. Though, in my own power scaling testing, I did this with 13th gen. I didn't bother with 14th. But if you read the PCPer article on power scaling with a 13900K in gaming workloads, even setting it to 125 watts, if anything, increased performance. This really could work to Intel's advantage in desktop gaming, because suddenly those 6 gigahertz single core performance numbers are really going to shine. By the way, I was thinking while Josh was talking, Intel, they may have lost some market share, and they may be continuing to lose market share to the enthusiast desktop gamer who might go with a Ryzen processor. But I'm thinking if they get into laptops, there's a lot of people using laptops, and I feel like they could make some inroads in that market and gain some market share over there.
Why is
Could
the
be.
bottom of my laptop dripping? Oh, that's just plastic. Don't worry about it.
I was going to say the melting point of aluminum, but okay, that's good too.
Oh, that could be reached, perhaps.
I mean, how big is I love, PC gaming hardware, but how big is the PC enthusiast gaming hardware segment for Intel when they've got, what is their percentage of the laptop market? Is it 85%?
No, it's higher than that.
I mean, take away
AMD
Apple
has
M1.
made some inroads in the last couple of years, but Intel used to almost have 100% of the market. I mean, it was damn near 98, 99%. And no, AMD has finally grown, but Intel still has much of a stranglehold because, again, it's software and a more constrained design. I mean, they're doing 35 watt, 45 watt max, not this, 183 to 250. Yeah, I mean, they're going to burst higher.
Mobile lately, 65 watt parts that boost higher.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's still less than 250.
It's still more than AMD, and they still have agreements in
is.
place with a lot of these laptop makers, and that's probably why you don't.
Now we got AI on AMD, so
In the name, it's literally Ryzen AI.
yeah.
In the name.
We'll talk about that later.
Will we? Great. I can't wait.
Nah,
Let's
I don't
move
know, do
to
we?
Apple. Let's move to Apple news. Brett, get ready. Brett Jobs. Apple has unveiled an iPad that some are calling stunning. It has the world's most advanced display. It has an M4 chip in it. 6 months after M3, boom, here's M4 in a tablet. And also there's something called Apple Pencil Pro. There's so much to unpack here. Brett, can you help guide me through? I mean, look at this. This iPad is so thin and so
It is.
OLED-y.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a fabulous piece. But to be honest with you, I really started.
Is that ribbed for Brett's pleasure?
You guys are taking this just one step too far. Maybe
No,
two
it's
steps.
probably melting too.
Was there a Core
think we all
i9 in this
know-
thing? Oh, okay.
I think we all know that the M chips just don't draw that much power. They start to make a little bit more
of course not.
because Apple's had to push the power. The die shrink just didn't get them where they needed to be, so they're starting to push a little bit of power. They're making a little bit more heat. Fans are running
Okay.
a little bit more.
Okay.
Clocks are starting to be affected, and this was on the M3. I think that they've made some interesting adjustments for the M4. They've added a couple more billion transistors. Do you remember,
We'll talk about the M4 in more depth in a minute, but can we talk about Apple's thinnest product ever? Brett, don't sleep on 5.1 millimeters thin.
No, go ahead. I read up on the M4 today, so I mean I'm never going to own.
We'll talk about the M4 here in a moment, but let's look at this thin chassis. Now, can you imagine, listener, a 13-inch tablet that is only 5 millimeters thick, not counting the camera bump, which obviously puts this thing in like the 8 millimeter range. But if we're just looking at the body of the tablet, it is 5.1 millimeters thick. How easy to bend will this be? And how many of these will have broken screens within about 2 days?
Hey, I've often wondered why they keep making such beautiful designs and everybody puts them in a chunky case.
Oh, now you can put it in a chunky case and it's the same thickness as last year's iPad. That's smart.
There's something to that. I'm not sure what the word is. It escapes me. Ironic?
Okay.
No.
Oh, look how small these bezels are. It's looking...
Half a millimeter closer to the edge.
It's just a half a millimeter closer to the edge. Wow. And OLED, like 1600 nits peak for HDR, 1000 nits full screen for SDR and HDR. That's just incredible. This
that's
OLED
pretty bright
display. Yeah. It's only possible with M4. This incredibly thin and light design and game-changing display is only possible with Apple's next generation silicon, delivering a huge leap in performance.
I sense some slight credibility problems with what you're saying right now.
Why? I'm quoting from Apple's press release.
I know, but see, they always create a very favorable comparison, like with the M4.
Right.
They compare it favorably to the M2.
Yes, exactly. Let's go right into a non-text coverage. Ryan Smith over to non-tech.
Why can't we talk about the dual layer OLED that gives you that 1000 nits?
All right, Josh, go ahead. You seem to know about it.
I don't know a damn thing about it. I figured you're the OLED guy.
Nope. And so Apple has announced their latest and greatest SoC, which they don't call an SoC. I think they just call it like a platform or something. But let's look at this infographic on how much better it is in the M2. Forget about the M3. It doesn't exist. It is 50% up to 50% faster CPU than the M2.
Now, again, this is coming in the iPad. It's in the iPad because they never got the M3.
4 times faster GPU than the M2. It has ProRes and AV1 hardware support, although I don't think they said anything about AV1 being encode. It might just be decode, or is it decode? And which one is it?
I don't.
Brett, I need a ruling on this. It's both. It's AV1 encode and decode.
No, I don't believe it's both.
It's just AV1. You don't need to know which one it is. Just AV1. It has a neural engine with 38 trillion ops.
Is that int 8 or FP16?
I have no idea. It doesn't say on this infographic. I wish it did. I'm sure that Ryan will go into that in greater depth.
It's a piece of the Apple magic. They don't really get into a lot of those particulars. They just like to say that this is faster. It's 2x or 4x or 3x faster than this other thing. But they don't really say in what.
Well, it's faster than an M2. They said that.
Well, that's because the M2 was what came in the iPad before. So that's why it's difficult comparison to the M3 yet, because the same system, like a Mac, has not been equipped yet with the M4. So that's why they compare it to the M2. But it does look like a slight improvement over the M3 in a couple of areas. Or the CPU. Not a tremendous amount in the CPU. They've got
more memory bandwidth, which will help CPU performance. If you go from 100, if you go from 100 gigabytes per second total bandwidth to 120, because they're moving to LPDDR5X 7700 from 6400.
6100.
And that 38 teraflops neural engine performance.
Mm-hmm.
That Ryan Smith, his conjecture is that that's int 8. So
what they're doing here, in my opinion, is sort of laying down a hardware marker for software that doesn't exist yet.
It doesn't exist yet because AI hasn't created it yet, Brett. And using this incredible new platform, now it can.
On enhanced 3 nanometer, nanometer. I
Okay,
might add.
second generation 3 nanometer. Okay, it's 28 billion transistors. No die sizes quoted for the new chip. No die shots posted.
It's not really much of a shrink. I don't think it's a shrink at all. It's just an enhanced process. So it's probably roughly the same size or just a little bit bigger. The transistor count is higher, but not dramatically so.
Mm.
They did improve the GPU somewhat. They're calling that about 50% faster. And they haven't massively improved the neural processor, or the area where AI and ML algorithms would primarily run. So again, I think this is something that that the software really isn't there to really show this one off. So I don't know when this is coming to the Mac. And you made the point earlier that M3 is only 7 months old. So this is kind of unusual.
Yeah.
They have jumped on the bandwagon of hardware-assisted ray tracing with this GPU setup. So that is actually something they weren't doing before. So that's right on the outside of the quote-unquote virtual box on this one. Hardware
What
RT.
exactly are you going to ray trace on an iPad?
More than you did before?
Okay, I guess.
The OS supports Windows with chamfered edges, and so the rays will bounce off the chamfered edges in a realistic way.
Anyway, that's it. I just really wanted to talk about the M4 a little bit. Not as excited
thank
about
you. Thank you.
the iPad.
Hey, speaking of rounded rectangles, look at this icon. This is the App Store
It
from
sure is.
Apple. It's a rounded, well, it's not a rectangle, it's a square. It's a squircle. Trouble over device fingerprinting brewing on the Apple App Store? Say it isn't so.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
Apple
could be interesting.
Hey, Apple says they're trying to prevent API fingerprinting, but not everyone is interested. Yeah, this is
namely
how
Google, Meta, and Spotify.
this
Who are
is
just sort of
how
ignoring Apple and going, yeah, sure, cut us off.
Oh,
from
you
the
can
App
ask
Store.
App not to track all you want, but somehow Meta still has all of your data.
What they're doing is they're finding instances of just normal use casing to grab that and say, hey, this is a way to register this particular device. They're using high time quantified file time stamping, out to some number of microseconds as an identifier. They're using some system configurations that you don't change very often. So they're finding ways now that they can't call a specific API to pull things like your cellular ID or your IP address or Ethernet IDs or anything like that. They're finding other ways to grab data that can be uniquely tied to your device and then shoveling that out to their respective backend services and then using that to track you around. Apple says don't do this. You're not essentially allowed to do this. However, the application,
unless you have a good reason.
Jeremy was, well, yeah, you can say that you have a good reason for it, but things like Chrome, does Chrome have a good reason to do it? There are other apps too that are doing it, and Apple has yet to crack down on some of these violations because these are extremely popular apps from very big companies. So we'll see what they do with it. Hello.
Wrong camera.
There.
I was just going to say that Apple got their press, like what happens on your iPhone stays on your iPhone. They talked about how secure your experience is. And it's very reassuring, honestly, to see that ask App not to track. No, I don't want you to track me. But then all the big players still do, and Apple knows it.
They do.
They're not going to do anything about it because they need them on the platform. You're not going to use an iPhone if you find out that Instagram and Facebook and Spotify and all those major players are no longer available. I have to get an Android phone for that stuff because Apple says those aren't safe.
I can't run Chrome. I'm used to Chrome. I use that everywhere. I don't want Safari, kind of thing.
It's kind of like the reason that Windows Phone failed, and I was a Windows Phone fan.
Well, there were several reasons.
There was the biggest reason was there weren't any apps. There were apps that just you could not get on a Windows Phone. They were weird third-party fake versions of apps. But
setting up Outlook on a Windows Phone was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But I loved the interface and the home screen. I still miss Lifetiles. And widgets aren't the same. They can't be the same. Anything else on this topic, or shall we move to news story number, 5?
Move along.
4.
Move along.
Okay. Oh, this is big. Microsoft is testing Mega
Using
transfers
Mr. T for memory speed.
No.
Mega transfers per second. Megahertz is wrong, okay? Now, this is one of those things. If you are a, what is the word? Pedant? If you're interested in PC pedantry, this has probably bothered you for a long time. Although, it probably bothers you more that people say megabyte when they mean megabyte, but that's another topic for another day.
Is it
Mega
Mibba or
transfers?
is it Meba?
Meba. Is it Meba? Mibba? Mibabyte or
Meba.
Mebabyte?
Meba.
Mibabyte?
Meba.
We'll look this up. Microsoft, this is via Bleeping Computer. Microsoft is testing the display of memory speeds as mega transfers per second rather than megahertz in the Windows 11 Task Manager. This cannot come fast enough because you know what? I'm sorry. Your 6,000 mega transfers per second memory is actually only 3. Because it's double data rate, meaning it's only effectively 6,000. Windows 11 beta preview, let's see, build 22635.3570. Oh, if you want to test the feature now, you can use, is this Vive tool? Download Vive tool, VIVE tool, all one word. And then there's a command you can put in, and it'll change the task manager to MTS. This is fantastic. Let's just look at a picture of it.
A much more accurate way of describing things. I think you're going with that. I feel your attraction to MTS. It's oozing through the way that you talk about it.
I need to look up whether it's Mibby or Meb. I thought it was Mebabyte.
No, it
people are
is
saying it's
Mebby, but
Meba.
Mebby everyone thinks is annoying, so they just do Meba. Mebabyte.
I just Googled it, and it says...
It's Mebby.
Yeah, it's Mebabyte.
But that turns it into 2 syllables.
What, and megabytes isn't?
Well, no, but Mebabyte is pretty much all slurred together into one.
See, if we actually used it correctly, megabytes, and this is how hard drive manufacturers have used this for many a year. They can say, oh, well, a megabyte's actually just 1,000. So that's why your 2,000 megabyte drive was actually only like 1,800 and something.
Well, plus a little reserve
Mebabytes.
space and this and that and the other thing, but yes.
That's why you never get all that space on your micro SD card.
Damn
Because
right.
manufacturers are lying to you. But they blame the operating system and the file system. Okay, let's move on to the next story. The inventor of DRAM, pioneer of semiconductor scaling, has passed away. Robert Dennard.
Mm-hmm.
This is a story at TechSpot. His impact on computing lives on. There's the man himself.
So he came up with the concept of, there was like magnetic memory before this that was
Oh, yeah, that core memory.
Yeah.
Exactly it. And then at his research group, I think he was at IBM. Yeah, he was an IBM researcher. They came up with a way to do it with a handful of semiconductors wired together, obviously. But he had this real inspiration that got it down to one transistor, and that's really where this thing started to explode when they were able to represent one bit with one transistor. Not only did he invent that, but he also theorized the advancements that would come, essentially what we know today as the die shrink advantage, where you get lower power consumption and higher performance through die shrink. And that was, I think it's called the Dennard process, the Dennard theory or something.
Dennard
like that.
scaling.
There you go. Thank you.
He was a clever man.
Indeed.
Far more clever than me. He also
Cleverer.
died,
Sorry, go ahead.
so I'm still alive. Maybe I'll make it to 91, but, looking at my diet and the amount I drink, probably not. So good on you, Mr. Dennard. Scale away.
Indeed. Dennard.
If it weren't for
Scale
him,
away.
there would have been no Intel. Because Intel not spun off, but Intel was made up of, was it Fairchild employees who wanted to start a memory company? Because that was back in the very beginning of DRAM. And More Noise, which was renamed to
Intel.
Integrated Electronics.
Electronics.
Intel was making DRAM. And they did not want to make microprocessors. That was a big
And then soon after, Jerry Sanders and some other Fairchild people all got together. They made AMD because, they saw some weaknesses in the market that they could, get their grubby hands into and make some fabs.
And then IBM said, yeah, we'll put your 8088, was it 8086, into the IBM PC, but we don't do single source. You have to have a second source for your processor. And that's why Advanced Micro over in Sunnyvale got the x86 license. I guess it was 8086.
8086, yeah.
IBM, it was at the basis of all of it. Alex in the chat says, reincarnation, you fools. Okay, all right, whatever you say. Mm-hmm. Josh will live again as a burger in his second life.
Briefly.
Or possibly as a cow.
Beaten. Yeah.
As a cow.
All right, so we have to talk about Backblaze, or at least I wanted to, because I saw this morning. The drive stats for Q1 2024 are out. And
I love this news. This is so cool.
It's so interesting because there's a continuing positive trend where drive failure rates are down as capacities have gone up. So here's their notes and observations on the drive stats. Downward AFR.
This year.
Ooh, let me see. 8 terabyte Seagate models, 16 terabyte, 6 terabyte. Look at these.
Mm-hmm.
All three of these Seagate drives, model ST16000NM002J, for example, lifetime AFR of only 0.68%. Lifetime confidence interval of 1.4%.
Yeah.
If you know what
Sadly,
that means.
they also have the one that fails the most, too.
Oh, okay.
The 14 terabyte.
So don't buy that.
But I think that just more speaks to their market share than anything else.
Sure.
No, it's a rate. It's it's a per drive count, not overall.
Yeah, this top one, this Western Digital 22 terabyte, that average age is only 2.7 months. That's too new. Let's look at some of these more mature
Josh, you're
ones.
right. Toshiba outsold them a lot, didn't they?
I was personally not happy with my Toshiba drives that I'd gotten some time ago.
Really? You talked about that purchase on this podcast.
I did, in fact.
And you're not happy with them?
I was not. I ended up getting a refund on all of them after 2 failures. And so I ended up returning them, getting a refund for them. Seagate and some Western Digital 10 terabytes.
Oh, you didn't get the IBM Desk Stars?
I did not.
Well, you see, HGST bought them out, and then Western Digital bought HGST.
So I got WDs that are HGSTs, actually, I believe.
Yeah, WDs
more or less. Yeah,
are they helium filled?
They are.
Nice. Did you shuck them out of Easy Store drives from Best Buy?
Some of them, yes.
Okay, that's the way.
That is the way.
That is the correct way.
It's not as cheap as it used to be.
I know. It's sad.
Yeah, it's the multiplier just isn't there. You might as well buy a bare drive, and where's the thrill in that?
It wasn't that long ago. I was buying 10 terabyte Easy Stores for like $160.
Yeah, which very, very competitively priced.
Yeah, my NAS is comprised of a bunch of 8 terabyte Easy Store drives.
Somewhere there's a picture of Alan's haul. Well, it was like the whole PCPer office crew, though, but it was insane.
Let me ask you a quick question on these real high density drives. Did they slow the spindle speed on these? Just trying to remember if they're still.
You think that has led to their increased reliability?
If they put more discs in, if they put more platters in, they did slow it, but some of them didn't. I
mean, there's the 2 classic speeds, 54 and 72, and then 10K for usually like SCSI type drives and above. But I thought I had seen some kind of odd spindle speeds on some of the really high density drives.
Hey, let's get one, and then we'll put like some kind of device on it that will measure the spindle speed. I don't know how. Measure the vibrations.
We look like Tech Jesus in here?
We'll put a stethoscope on it and hook it up to an apparatus of some kind.
Yeah, we'll measure the vibrations and get real spindle speed off of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it varies depending on where the heads are anyway to get constant data rate, but so
It's kind of like
it's
records,
just
like vinyl records.
It's angular.
Not consistent. It's not consistent.
It's angular. Yeah, it's like
revolutions per
records.
minute. If you're looking at like the groove on the outer groove is not going to be spinning at the same speed as the innermost groove near the label, depending on how the record side was cut.
But yet,
and which just causes even more problems because already you're going to have tracking issues that close to the label, and the intermodulation distortion problems, and it's just not making it a flat disc like that was just not the best decision. Bring back the Edison discs with the linear
Cylinders?
tracking. Yeah, the cylinders. Those were actually they tracked better.
well, I
Right.
mean, everything was equidistant.
I left out 15K SAS drives from my little litany earlier.
Well, you
so
don't see them very often.
No one buys
You know what you
those.
don't see very often anymore?
Do tell.
Basic. But it
Well,
was
you
at the
say that.
very base. It was at the very beginning of the microcomputer revolution. 60 years ago, BASIC was created. It's BASIC's
Hello,
birthday,
world.
or it was on the 6th. Or no, sorry, it was
No,
the
the
first.
It's the first a few days ago.
Mayday.
Small Visual Basic. It's only been around for 10 years. A newbie.
Yes. But there were 3 flavors of BASIC, which all released brand new versions on May the 1st, just to sort of, hey, it's been 60 years. And so you've got Small Visual Basic that's been kicking around, and I mean it's for people who like BASIC but like a GUI at the same time. There's 2 others that are really good for if you're doing a ZX Spectrum, because I mean a lot of people are emulating that nowadays, especially considering how horrible their Kickstarter went for rebooting that thing. And then QB64 Phoenix has a brand new fork to explore because they all got in a huge fight about 3 or 4 years ago, and half the group refused to update and then lock things down. And the other group that wanted to keep going for it finally figured out a way to get at least some of the source code out, redo the interface, and launched it as a brand new fork. So for all of us that pretty much that was one of the first things we ran into after Logo.
Who could forget Bill Gates back at the height of his power with Altair Basic?
Oh, absolutely.
I just have to observe. I don't think he's ever taking a flattering photograph. Never once.
It's time for Insecurity Corner.
Oh, this makes me
And
drink.
hackers sharing router botnets for nefarious purposes. Wait, why would a hacker share a router botnet for anything but nefarious purposes? But anyway, one of the botnets is turning 8. Oh, another birthday. It's like the birthday episode of the
Yeah.
podcast.
So no, this is depressing as hell because essentially what is being shared are random Earth just trying to hack things and just be annoying, and state level actors. But instead of saying, hey, get off of my botnet, you bastards, I'm busy here, they're like, let's timeshare the botnet. And, when your stuff sort of slows down for whatever reason, we'll just take a bunch of the processing power and do it our stuff. And this is just upsetting. The idea that they're actually working together and not, hey, no, I'm going to hack you because you're now stealing processing power from my botnet. No, they're like, yeah, cool. Tuesday's going to be slow. You guys go ahead. Honor among thieves somehow, I guess, except we don't really want it to be. So instead of a free-for-all, they're literally sharing. And so that ours mentioned 3 of the biggest ones: Pawnstorm, Water Zemu, and Water Barguest. And, the 2 waters are purely to steal money. Pawnstorm is for espionage. But some of these have been around since like 2016. Others 2018. The Pawn Storm is relatively new. They have a variety of attacks. It's just that these botnets are now sort of Swiss Army knives. Can't get in one way, we'll try and get in the other way. If we can't do that, we can't do that. Okay, well, fine. Oh, damn, I have to resort to social engineering again. Oh, I dare you not to click on that link. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's really depressing to hear that they're actually working together and not fighting each other as you would hope.
It's a damn
Sorry.
shame that old hardware. I don't even know. I was just going to say, too bad it doesn't self-destruct. But then again, I like old hardware in many ways.
Cisco begs to differ, because as far as I'm concerned, it's just disposable.
Yes.
That is true.
And we will sell you
That
a
is
brand
true.
new one with an extra zero on the end of the price.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that Zixel router from 2018, just keep using that, Dad.
All right. Next, at our second cut, novel attack against virtually all VPN apps. Neuters their entire purpose. And this thing called tunnel vision vulnerability has existed since 2002 and may already be known to attackers.
Yeah, it may already have been used and abused.
Is this one of the government
tough to-
backdoors
tough to
that's
say.
built into all VPNs, or is
It's
that
not
something
even
else?
No.
really a back
Oh,
door.
okay.
It's
Okay.
subtle. It has to do with DHCP and something called option 121.
Which
What-
was stupid to
that-
put in the first place.
It's part of the protocol. It's legit.
Wait a minute. Is
So
option
what-
121 worse than Order 66?
In a way, it is. It's no because nobody knows that they're dead. or that the fact that they're about to have all of their data stolen. At least in Order 66, they've made things pretty definitive. Option 121 of the DHCP protocol essentially allows a DHCP server to specify routing information to the receiver. So if you walk into a coffee shop and your VPN tunnel is picking up a DHCP address from the local DHCP server, probably that 2018 Zixel modem in the corner or whatever
Yes.
that we were talking about earlier. Anyway, that's usually fine. The problem is that a bad actor DHCP service is fairly easy to insert into public environments, or even other ways of kind of wedging your way into legitimate environments and then inserting your own DHCP servers. But option 121 allows you to specify routing information to clients, which overrides the VPN routing information. What that will do is that the traffic that your belief in that's being sent in and being received from the VPN tunnel is in fact traveling wherever this routing information is actually specified it, and it's doing so invisibly. So you could have a man-in-the-middle attack take place very easily in the scenario like this, have that traffic siphoned off, end up at the user server, wherever they want, because they can route that traffic wherever they want using this option. And they can examine it at their leisure and then send it onto the endpoint, and you wouldn't know. And any VPN that adheres to option 121 of the DHCP standard is susceptible to this. Strangely enough, Android is not, because they didn't implement the protocol. So hand it to Android here for actually going like, we're just going to shortcut this and we're not going to do the whole full thing. This
Are you
actually
saying
saves their ass.
that Android phones are safer than an iPhone for VPN
in
browsing?
this particular manner, it's
The
software
one about the
VPN.
escalating attacks against iPhones. So yeah, at this point we are. I don't know. I'm torn on this one. If you're wandering into a coffee shop and you're hooking up to random open connection, oh look, free Wi-Fi. I'm going to fire up my VPN and I'm going to be immune to everything. You're an idiot. No, that's not how VPNs work. Unless it's a good one, because a lot of the professional level VPNs, the second that a DHCP setting changes, like the second that you set another route, it'll drop. Boom. And you constantly get people screaming, oh yeah, my VPN constantly drops. It's like, yeah, because you're probably connecting to something you shouldn't be. But if you're like NordVPN or one of the cheapo ones, yeah, they don't care. They're going to happily, so look, my route has completely changed. Don't worry about it. It's fine. So, yeah, for a lot of the paid for corporate VPNs, this is not going to be a thing because you're running your
Cisco?
own DHCP.
Like your Cisco VPN?
Oh god, I hate Cisco AnyConnect so much with a passion. But yeah, it is bad, but it's not maybe as bad as it's been made out to be. Because again, kids, don't walk into your local McDonald's, hook up to the public VPN and assume, or public Wi-Fi, and assume your VPN is going to protect you. There's at least 12 things that
are. Go ahead.
Oh, there's at least 12 things that are going to ruin your day.
And once your day is ruined, you essentially order 66 yourself. Their mitigations for this are running a device in a VM and then turning on your VPN from there. But essentially that activates the second mitigation, which is if you are not running your software VPN using what's called bridged mode, which borrows essentially the addressing and networking stack from the host machine. If it sets up its own, you're probably going to be okay. So if it gets its own IP address and everything, and then you operate that way, and then you route locally onto that virtual network interface on your local machine, that is, I guess, safe.
Yes.
You have to option your way into that if your VPN even does that. And Linux. So Linux is probably immune.
Yes, it is. Yeah, no, Android and Linux are both immune to this because neither of them put this stupid option 121 into production because it's kind of
they don't pay attention to it.
But hey, it makes
dumb.
DHCP easier, and everyone likes it when DHCP is easier.
Everyone likes security to be easy, and it's not.
Hey, it is if you're on an iPhone. I forgot about this, as the Mad Hatter points out after their comment. iPhone for the win. Said not with private internet access, talking about the issues with VPN. Now, private internet access is something that I think is new with iOS 17, right? You can enable it.
Yeah, and apparently it sort of works too.
It's DHCP. It creates like a virtual private network, but it's not really a VPN, right? I don't know how much you know about this, Brad, but
I don't. I know about the randomization.
It does this weird fake DHCP layer.
Yes,
but it actually
everything routes through Apple's servers. They become your default DHCP server, I think.
So yeah, they could see the future coming in the issues with standard VPNs.
Let's move on to gaming quick hits, and we didn't talk about the Helldivers 2 thing last week. I think it was already going on, but it certainly escalated in between last show and this show. And if you don't know,
it escalated quickly.
Yeah, it was this thing where the PlayStation Network was going to be a requirement to play the game. You had to link your Steam and PSN accounts. And if you didn't have a PSN account and you lived in the 170 countries that don't support such accounts, you couldn't play the game. So Steam responded, this is on May 5, by pulling the game from Steam in 170 countries. And after that happened, then Sony backed down and they're no longer requiring you to link a PSN account to play the PC version of the game.
Well, they went from like a 95% positive rating on Steam to like 33%.
Yeah.
They didn't quite realize that gamers have a very instantaneous way of expressing displeasure.
And it's empowering.
To the tune of like 100,000, 200,000 plus negative reviews.
Yeah.
It is empowering. One day you're just this regular person with a huge Steam backlog you'll never get to. And the next day you're part of a movement that can force change from a big corporation. It makes you feel very strong and powerful. I don't know if the game's any good, and I'll probably never play it, but now you don't have to have a PSN account, which I already had a PSN account. I hate account linking anyway, though.
Yes.
I already have a Steam account.
It feels dirty. It just does. I don't like it.
But you're spreading democracy.
The people who hated Sony this is like their Christmas, because it's like, they look so bad and so out of touch and so evil. How could you possibly expect people in the countries that don't even support PlayStation Network? Like, you don't support these countries with your service, and yet you're going to require them to link. effectively, you would kill their ability to play the game that they already bought. So people were getting refunds.
They were getting
Steam was
refunds,
waiving the
requesting.
refund policy,
Yep.
and yes,
And apparently they promised they've got a new AAA title coming out. They've promised they won't try and attach that to the PSN.
They're
that's nice.
Note that the other games that they had out already that were not quite as successful as Helldivers 2 didn't get this treatment. There's a lot of talk out there that this was just an attempt to buff their numbers for PSN Network to whatever thing that they needed to be able to do to say, look how many more millions of people we got to sign up to PSN. I think that's really kind of what they were after, and they went after what they thought was the biggest target, the easiest slice of pie for them to grab and to carry away. Not counting on the super, super bad reaction. And to be honest with you, they have built up a fair amount of ill will in the gaming industry. And I think people may stay away from certain Sony blockbuster titles just because it's Sony now. I don't think it's going to be a huge percentage of people, but I think some sales are going to be lost just because I'm not buying a Sony game. I don't trust them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's going to happen.
I saw that comment multiple times on news stories about this over the last few days.
I believe it.
I'm never buying another Sony game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The knee-jerk
This is
reactions
going to take them
to negative
years.
stories.
It is a knee-jerk reaction.
I'm never buying another Sony game until your favorite developer releases through Sony
or all your friends are playing Helldivers 3, you know.
Oh, look, Shadow of
I mean-
Colossus 3. Oh.
We've all
wait,
seen
just
that. I'm never buying
don't even
CD
remember
Projekt
the
Red
model.
again after Cyberpunk. I'm never buying. I'm never buying another Ubisoft game after
I think
one
the
of their
difference is
billions
price
of.
point. The difference is price point at that point. Are you buying it at $59, $69, whatever the AAA title price is going to be nowadays, or are you waiting for that GOG $39 sale? I think you're probably going to wait at that point. Like, hey, looks fun.
Yeah.
I'll pick it up when it goes on sale. But no way am I paying full price for a developer that I hate. Or
That's the one thing that getting older has done to me, that the whole fear of missing out just barely exists in the back of my mind. And I see a brand new release. And it's like, do you know how much I paid for games I haven't played so far? Have you seen my Steam account? I'm not buying this unless I absolutely have to benchmark it. And then, after I benchmark it, time and time and time and time and over again, I don't want to play the damn thing.
In our next gaming quick hit story, which is also our last, Thrones of Decay, More Hammer, More War by Jeremy Hellstrom.
Yes. Because Total Warhammer, or Total War Warhammer if you prefer, was released just short of 8 years ago. And it's still going on. Along the way, Creative Assembly released Total War Pharaoh, and a whole brand new free update to that. But, it's hard to get away from just the sheer size of Warhammer and just the bizarre differences between all the races. So they dumped out, as is traditional, a paid-for DLC, where you get 3 brand new heroes to be able to play with, and a free, they call it free LC. Not a big fan of it, but their patch came out with a whole bunch of things. Long story short, the patch is worth more than the DLC is. The patch totally reworks how Nurgle's plagues work. It adds some interesting new things to the whole overarching game. And it also gives you a free Nurgle champion that you just get for free, and a gold wizard for those races that get a wizard. If you pay for it, then you get 3 new heroes. You get a dwarf, a Nurgle hero, and someone from the Empire. The Nurgle hero is the most amusing because I got to use the word Nerducken, because technically it's a Nurgle demon inside of a chaos, or sorry, inside of a maggot that's inside of an ogre tyrant. Temurkin is actually kind of amusing just for the backstory if you go for the fluff. But, I mean, the big thing about him is that you've got friends that you can hire after you've gone through their sort of new fealty mechanic, and you can hire new chieftains. It's meh. The other two, the Empire and the Dwarf, are both very firearm focused. So with a Dwarf, you get essentially the same thing as you did with Pirates of the Coast, where they've got a ship that travels along with them and actually shows up on the map and can blow stuff up. But you get a whole bunch of upgrades for your firearms troops. And the same thing is true for Elizabeth von Draken, who's definitely not a necromancer. The Empire frowns upon that. But again, you just get this whole new mechanic of the Imperial Armory, where you can just upgrade your gunnery troops and upgrade them and eventually get unique amethyst troops that she gets that no one else does. It's sort of entertaining. Of them all, I mean, the Dwarf Malachi Mackison is my favorite because you get Felix and Gortrek immediately. If you know Warhammer, you know exactly what I mean. Your original army starts with 3 heroes and some significant nasty troops, and you can just keep upgrading them. It's done really well on Steam. The last couple of DLCs that they put out for this have been meh, and they haven't really seen much sales, but for just under $23 US, you get all 3, or you can pay about $9 per hero. They're all interesting if you're really looking for someone new to play on Warhammer, but honestly, the big story here is the patch. It really changes a couple of things that were just really annoying about the Empire. They make Nurgle a little more interesting, and they fixed Oath Gold for the Dwarves, which pretty much everyone ignored until now. So there you go. A quick rundown on the newest DLC of a game I've put way too many bloody hours into.
Thank you, Jeremy. And you know what? It's time for Picks of the Week. Josh, please get us started.
I don't want to talk to you no more.
All right, Jeremy, do you have a pick this week?
Oh,
Okay, Josh.
Cold.
okay. So, I picked this one kind of out of there. I've been dabbling with some direct drive stuff and looking at prices, and Moza has a nice setup for slightly less than $500 with a wheel, a 5.5 Newton meter direct drive wheelbase, and pedals for $495. It's not a fantastic deal, but it's actually, why is it $549 for you?
I'm not logged in. It says join Prime to buy this item at $494.
Okay. So yeah, you can get $50 off. It's a really solid setup. Moza makes really good stuff. It's not the highest Newton meter as in strength direct drive, but you'll get all the detail, the quick reactions.
Would it
all
be
these good things.
Would it be easier on my frail wrists?
Yes,
It would.
yeah. Be far gentler than like an Ace Tech 24 Newton meter,
No,
which will
I don't think I
actually
can
break
handle
your
that.
wrists
Yes.
when somebody crashes into you and has been registered as actually having happened.
There should be fairly low risk to physical injury when playing a video game, wouldn't you say?
Well, you know
I don't
what?
know. Some
How
people are into the
far are
realism.
you willing to push reality?
Hey, remember the Nintendo Wii? The accidents happened. Okay.
Okay.
Wii bowling was a
How
full
many
contact
TVs
sport.
were broken?
Okay.
Several.
You're starting to throw the counter arguments out, and I'm buying it.
Okay.
What about
So
Kinect?
anyway, Moza makes good thing. It's a bundle. And, if you're looking for, if you're a starter and you want to start or, much lower, something under $250, which there are a lot of options out there for force feedback. But if you want something that has a pretty robust ecosystem of different rims and, upgrading the power supply, adding on a, what do they call that? Load cell. Thank you, Thoth. Oh,
Okay.
God.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, you can add all these things to it, and it's a if you're really looking into getting into racing in the PC or VR, which is starting to come back again.
Is it?
It's a really solid base for not a huge amount of money.
Nice.
$500 is still plenty, but there you go.
It's direct
cell.
drive, though. Direct drive is expensive.
It is.
All right. Jeremy.
It's getting cheaper.
What?
Just like
Your
me.
pick. Tell us about a thing we can't get here in the United States.
Oh, really? Okay, that's amusing.
We probably can, but I can't buy it online, it says.
Well, no,
Sold
I'm
out.
sure you could find it somewhere else. But no, it's just...
Right.
It's a decent mouse. The Asus ROG Keras P509. It's dirt cheap right now. Hey, there's a couple of places you can buy it here. And I almost went with a only available today deal, but I didn't.
That's a substantial
This one's available in
discount.
Canada. Yeah. Oh, it's a third of the price that you would normally pay, more or less. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it is $60 off. The only problem is that generally Asus ROG kit for the mice needs Armory Crate.
Nope.
Armory Crate is kind of annoying, but the good thing is you can install it, do all the firmware updates you need, and then just remove it, and it's gone. So it doesn't need to spawn those 18 processes that it usually does. But I mean, 1600 DPI, 7 programmable buttons, $40. It's kind of hard to go wrong if you need a mouse.
I do have one thing to add to the uninstalling Armory Crate. Unfortunately, if you have G.Skill RGB RAM and you uninstall Armory Crate, you can no longer control the color of those RAM sticks.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay, that's neat.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
It's just
as
indispensable.
the link says in the
to your build.
podcast, if you can't stand Armory Crate, just ignore this. But
Armory Crate
that
is
was not
terrible.
it truly is.
I have the Asus 96% keyboard that I'm using, and actually on my computer, I do not have the Armory Crate software installed. If I want to change a setting, I have it installed on my streaming computer here. I change the settings, save it to the
Hey, at least they're persistent. I always like it when devices have onboard memory for settings. I will do that. I will actually put like IQ is in a VM on my machine. So I can change
IQ is
colors and
kind of
stuff,
annoying.
and then I shut down the VM, and the color that I chose is persistent on the keyboard, and I never have to run it again on that PC. You can update firmware through the VM too. It's very handy.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Brett, I think you're next.
When I'm looking for a pick, my default, I always go for 3440 by 1440. What I mean by that is you should be gaming on an ultra wide. Why not go to the source? LG. Why spend more? I would
Life
say
is good.
Life is good. Life is good. Lucky good.
Lucky
I
Gold
would
Star.
say Lucky Gold Star.
Are you saying it's sort of the zenith of monitors?
Don't spend. I like where you went with that. That's very funny. But I would say a good price on a 34-inch ultra wide nowadays is $329. That's a pretty good
Is
price
it?
for
Okay, you heard it here first.
reasonably spec'd reasonably spec'd. If you're looking for like, don't spend a ton. You're on a budget. You can easily spend a lot more.
But can you
Here's
spend
one.
less?
You can. Here's one from LG. VA panel. I must admit, AMD FreeSync Premium.
There's nothing wrong with
160
VA panels when they are curved.
It's true because you don't get that fall off because it's kind of all pointed at you wherever you're looking for only $292. This is a really pretty good deal in my opinion for an LG.
The refresh rate is under 5,000
QHD.
hertz, or whatever it is nowadays. We're supposed to be buying.
160 is in that second gen. I think we're like in that third gen phase right now. So this is, not top of the line 200 hertz nowadays, but 160 is pretty good. I'd probably run this at 144. Yeah, but that's pretty darn fast. And for something approaching, 4K-ish pixels to push, you're still going to need a fairly beefy graphics card to get top.
It's not really 4K.
Well, no, it's not. It's not.
It's like 6 million pixels, but
it is. Yeah.
Aww.
But that's it's tough to kind of talk about where that target is for, how typically what people talk about. I'm driving a 4K display or I'm driving a 2K display. It's one of those kind of weird ones in between. But the point is, this is a more immersive experience in 34-inch gaming. I'm going to recommend that you play on one of these. I think it's going to be fun. And this is a very reasonably priced monitor that's not from a brand you haven't heard of. LG. They're making the panel anyway. You might as well buy it from them. How many pixels?
Oh, not even 5.
So that's
4.95 million pixels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 5 million megapixels.
It is.
And we don't really have 4K. We're talking about UHD. That's not really 4K either, but
yeah, this is a QHD.
The further it gets, the worse it is.
That's still 8.3. So yeah, it's not even close. 3440 by 1440 is not even close to 4K.
8K is a lie.
Yes, because you've already lost so much. I mean, 4K is 4,096 pixels wide, and some weird like 2,200 something tall. That's like cinema 4K. UHD is just doubling vertical and horizontal HD resolution.
Yeah, if Micro Center would match this, definitely pick it up, put it in your car, and take it home with you. Way to go.
Under 300, I bet we're going to start seeing $279 as the new price.
I was seeing an increase in pricing in these, kind of like moving more towards that $400 mark. Because some of the ones... Well, I'm seeing some of the ones.
And then the sales number said, no, the economy cannot support this choice.
Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe that's why we're seeing some of these being cleared out at a sub $300 price point. Anyway,
supply
this is
keeps going up and demand keeps going down. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, weird. Warehouses are full of stuff that doesn't move because people don't want to overpay. All right. Thank you, Brett.
Kent, save us.
Yes, Kent, with your pick of the week.
My pick of the week is a 96% keyboard, fully hot swappable, fully mechanical. You can get it with a variety of switches, but it's affordable. It's $80 with a $15 off coupon right now.
So then it would be $65.
Exactly. I picked up one of these for my wife in a different color. You can get it with a variety of switches. You can get linear red, you can get brown, you can get blue. They're all hot swappable. It'll take either 3 or 5 pin replacement. It's not quite as heavily built as the Asus 96% that I got, but it's still very nice. And this is a red switch model in the white that I got for my wife because we're getting rid of everything Razer. And it's quite nice.
Oh God, you went for that one, did you?
Yes, that's
a
that
statement.
one looks nice. I like the white one.
And it's Sony in your house. Is that what happened? What happened with Razer there?
I just got tired of Synapse taking up more and more active memory, having multiple different operations going in the background, even if you shut Synapse down completely. And so I got rid of and like her Black Widow started doing some weird things as far as the keyboard goes. Anytime like she tried to plug it in to charge the battery and use it wired, the computer just started like randomly connecting and disconnecting. And we tested everything, tested the keyboard on a different computer, and it was definitely the keyboard. So we're just, as Razer stuff dies, we're just replacing it with not Razer stuff. The nice thing about the arcade, this particular arcade model, the 98, there is no software. You can control all the lighting and effects through keys on it. There's no software for setting macros or anything, but you can do that through Windows apps. So, no additional spyware. It's great. I'm actually really happy with it. And she likes it.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
You mean?
Happy wife, happy life, right, Kent?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what people tell me.
Yeah, I never believed in that.
Well, I don't got one, so it doesn't matter.
I have a pick. I talked about this a little bit last week. I'm just going to get it out of the way. The OnePlus Watch 2. I have been wearing this until recently when I developed a severe rash under the watch and had to stop wearing it. But until that happened, it was my partner in time. This thing has the best.
Until the moment.
Here's the problem. Okay.
The tech gave me a rash.
Ridiculously good battery life.
But it tells the time really well.
It has ridiculously good battery life. And I've never had a smartwatch that lasted like 3 days between charges like this. And then when you do charge it, it has the fastest charging of any watch. So I would take it off, put it on the charger, take a shower, get out of the shower, and the watch is at 100%. So, 3 more days. And don't put a watch on.
How about your skin, though? Was your skin at 100%?
Don't put a watch on right after you get out of the shower, and it's still a little bit moist. And then I don't like watches that have, bands with the holes. I prefer like sport bands and things, but I was using a leather strap I bought on Amazon, and I'm always in between holes, on every belt and every.
Yeah. Oh, I see where you're going.
We're talking about watch straps, but it's either too tight or too loose. So I'm like, I'm tired of this thing flopping around. So I tightened it, and it was too much, and then I went to sleep. And I think it was the combination of wearing it too tightly and not drying well enough after the shower or whatever. But the next day, a lot of irritation under the watch. And I just haven't worn it for like 4 days. So I don't know if this is a recommendation or not.
Radiation burns is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, until that happened, it was fantastic. This thing, it goes into this ultra low power mode until you raise it and kind of wake it up again. And it just lasts and lasts. They say 100 hours. I'm thinking it's more like 72 because it's just about the 3-day mark where I have to charge it every time. But very nice looking too. If you like this, it's kind of asymmetrical looking. They said it was the design was inspired by vintage automobiles. It looks a lot more expensive than it is too. Full price of this thing is like $299. Goes on sale occasionally. Very classy looking, nice round watch. Something you can't get with Apple. You cannot get a round device. Oh, look, Jeremy says, hey, I don't need a watch. Do you have a pocket watch, Jeremy?
No.
Okay.
I've got googly eyes.
Josh is like, I've got a phone. Why would I need a watch? He dropped it.
Or almost not.
Break it.
Yeah, I like watches because I don't always want to have my phone, and I can still get that text message from my wife or a call from the school on my wrist. And plus I lose my phone all the time because I set it down somewhere in the house and forget it, and I can just ping my phone with my watch, and that's what I mostly use my watch for, is making my phone ring so I can find it somewhere in the house. I think that'll do it. It's been real. It's been a Tuesday edition of the PC Perspective podcast. I think
weird.
It was a little weird. It got weird at times. But we made it through. It's a quarter to midnight on the East Coast, and I think it's time to say goodbye. So thank you, every single one of you. Mr. C, Al Bundy, Jeremy Hellstrom, Gregorovich, James Fox, Anon4, Chinchilla Nightmares, and others. Al Bundy.
That's my upstairs neighbor, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Chinchilla Nightmares.
Thank you for your Canadian $5.
Thanks, upstairs neighbor.
Thanks everyone.
You know what I'm saying?
You're saying.
You know what? I actually didn't hear that, so I am kind of glad.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. And we'll do this again next week, probably. Probably on Wednesday. So
Probably.
Oh, I have 8 days of break.
it's going to feel good. It's going to feel like a vacation.
Yeah.